welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I'm such a sexy boy. Sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy.
And I'm Justine.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss Death Proof, which came out in 2007 as part of the Grindhouse collection, written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis for Death Proof?
Well, the story follows stuntman Mike, played by Kurt motherfucking Russell. Stuntman Mike has a death-proof car and uses it to take out as many teens as he can.
I'm a huge fan of Tarantino. I think this is the first time we've ever really talked about Tarantino on this channel.
Movie? Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
And this is really the lowest rated Tarantino film, and even Tarantino himself has said that this is his worst film. He doesn't think it's a terrible film. As a matter of fact, Tarantino really likes the film. He felt that he over-tweaked it. And of course, having this film as part of the Grindhouse collection, which was alongside Planet Terror, along with a couple of other fake film trailers for Grindhouse, some of which eventually went into full production, like Hobo with a Shotgun and Machete. This one kind of... I thought Planet Terror was the better Grindhouse film until I actually studied Grindhouse.
Yeah.
And now I have to say that Death Proof feels more authentically like a Grindhouse film than its counterpart.
Yeah.
For the first half.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd go with that. Yeah. Seeing the two movies come out, you know, the Grindhouse double feature. I didn't.
Nobody
understand
knew what
the
Grindhouse
excitement.
was at that point.
No.
It's like it was a massive influence in
were
film
working
in the
at the
70s and
cinema.
80s.
Yeah, for me, it wasn't like a genre. It was always a time. You know, the movies of the 70s and early 80s had this kind of feel, the graininess.
Well, it was the stigma of exploitation. You know, it was over-the-top violence and nudity, which had no censor boards at the time.
But people were trying to, you know, get as many movies out as they could, couldn't they? It was just like...
They were able to make them cheap, and they had theatres that were willing to buy them.
Yeah, and most of them weren't very good.
A lot of those films have disappeared, will never be reprinted, or have just, you know, the film stock was never really looked after properly either.
Yeah.
So a lot of those films are just gone forever.
But when Planet Terror came out, like you, I was just like, oh my god, this is brilliant. It's got all these killer zombies in, and there's a girl with a machine gun on her leg. Oh, fucking Death Proof.
It's from the guys that brought us From Dusk Till Dawn, you know? When Tarantino and Rodriguez got together, it was just like a match made in film heaven.
But I wasn't too sure about Death Proof. You know, because Death Proof, you just see the car on the front of it. You don't really get much from the trailer apart from, you know, there's these teens going around getting killed by this guy. And I was like, how's this going to work? And then I watched it and I was just like, better than Planet Terror.
I agree.
You know, from a woman's perspective, you know, the females in this film are amazing.
They are.
Excuse me for living, but what is the thing?
No, it's everything but.
They call it the thing?
I call it the thing.
Do you guys like the thing?
They like it better than no thing.
Well, one of the biggest criticisms that I have to chuck at the film is that at least, about 80% of all of the characters in the film are Quentin Tarantino. Obviously, he wrote the script, but it feels like he wrote every single character to be him.
Yeah, from his perspective, yeah.
And that is the only real gripe that I have with the dialogue in the film, is that all the girls sat talking to each other. It feels like Quentin Tarantino's talking to himself in his head.
Yeah, because they just have these really elongated...
Because I don't know anybody else that speaks like Tarantino.
I think, though, those... And that was a lot of the criticism that was levelled at it
in
terms of those extended conversations. But what I think is it was hyperbolic... Tarantino thinking what girls talk about, and you know, we don't talk like that. There's absolutely no way. You know, we talk about quantum physics. We talk, you know, I'm sorry, but we do.
Really?
Yeah, we do.
That wouldn't have worked in this film, though.
It
would
wouldn't
it?
have worked in this film. Absolutely, because he had to create these stereotypes to juxtaposition against the strength because he was twisting the genre.
Yeah, I did totally agree with that. I mean, he had to make... Like the first set of girls that we come across, we've got Vanessa Felito playing Butterfly. Mm-hmm. We've got Sydney Tamia Portier playing Jungle Juliet. I didn't realise Sidney Poitier had a daughter, and I didn't realise she was actually named Sidney Poitier. That's freaky. And we also have Jordan Ladd playing Shauna. Shanna? I don't want to get it wrong. Is it Shannon? Shauna? Shanna.
No. Now, there is one thing that every girl in the whole world whose name is Shanna has in common with each other. We all hate the name Shauna, and we really hate it when people call us Shauna.
It's Shanna. I'm going to go with Shanna.
Go with Shanna.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Shanna. But once you see them in the car at the beginning, you know, and they're talking about scoring
just
weed.
before they even get to the car, you've got the kind of exploitation shots of overly sexualizing these girls when you have that
Yes.
long shot from the
Absolutely.
feet. I mean, the film opens with feet.
Yeah.
And you have the shot where the camera's pretty much right up the crack of her ass
That's a good
as it
shot.
comes up to the window.
Yeah.
And it really does sexualize these girls. They talk about sex. They talk about who they're having sex with. They talk about who they're not having sex with.
But it works for the structure of, like Tarantino says, this is a slasher film. I mean, I don't really see it as a slasher film because he doesn't have a big knife. He has a massive fucking car.
Well,
so I don't know if that's a
He
job
still
on its own.
plays with twist and
Yeah,
that
but it's
slasher genre.
Yeah, it's a killer using an item or something to take out these victims, and you are in with the victims because you relate to them. They're talking about drugs, they're talking about sex, they're talking about getting drunk, and they're just going out to party. And the cool thing is, there's no guys for a while, and then when the guys do turn up, they're a bit douchey.
Yeah,
Well, you've
very
got Ellie
different.
Roth
Very
and
douchey.
Quentin Tarantino, and
Yeah.
Eli Roth, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of any of his films. For
Cabin
some reason,
Fever.
Tarantino likes him.
But at the same time, I did notice something at the beginning that popped up that kind of made me want to vomit a little bit. And it was the fact that during the credits you have the executive producers turn up and you have both Bob and Harvey Weinstein's name on the screen. And unless you've been living under a rock for the last 2 years and don't know,
I didn't notice that. That's changed my...
you got to be careful with
Buzz.
Dimension Films now with
You
Harvey
do.
Weinstein. But it's something that I really enjoyed with this film because I'd already seen it. So I knew how it was going to play out. The violence that is brought onto some of the girls, I felt awkward with. But the fact that the girls were to me, they were such strong characters. They could stand out on their own. If this was a masked killer running around with a knife chasing them, they'd probably beat the shit out of him. It's the fact that he's got a big fucking car that they are at a disadvantage.
I thought it was funny at the beginning of the film. I don't know if any of you noticed it, but the original title of the film comes up on
Yes,
screen before
yeah.
Death Proof kind of gets stapled on top of it, and it was Quentin Tarantino's Lightning Bolt was the name of the film. It's just like... So Tarantino has played with the slasher genre, and he is playing and kind of reinventing the grindhouse feel.
Yeah.
Now, we mentioned this in the Hobo with a Shotgun review, that I felt like of all of the films that have come out of this resurgence of grindhouse, that one felt like the most grindhouse.
Yes, definitely.
Tarantino shot this on film and deliberately scratched it up to give it the feel of how film was mistreated in the grindhouse era. But it kind of, did that add to the effect for you, or did it subtract from it, knowing that sometimes it felt like there was frames missing, but it was done on purpose?
I didn't like it in Planet Terror.
They went overkill with
They
that.
went overkill with it in Planet Terror. You know, you have that really funny attack sequence where they all run outside and it says real missing, and then they come back and see aftermath. That really pisses me off about that film. With this one, he only does it for half.
Well,
and then he goes black and white.
Yeah.
Then the colour kicks in and you lose all the graininess. And I'm like, why did you advertise this as a massive grindhouse movie, staple half the movie with that, and then bring it back up to present day, the other half?
I think Tarantino was established by then. He was making money.
Yeah.
He was, so it mustn't have been done. But I've read things that have said he did that because he kind of got bored with the production process or whatever.
Right.
But I don't believe that for a moment.
Okay.
And I think it's so that we can focus on that second half
Yeah.
in terms of redemption, in terms of,
Yeah.
as
Well,
opposed to the style and being distracted by the style, because that's where he challenges both slasher and grindhouse genres. Maybe not so much grindhouse, but certainly slasher.
Definitely.
And that switch of the final girl.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where we wanted the focus to be. I don't know.
That's-
I
that's
liked it though.
I mean,
liked it.
the first half of the movie is definitely grindhouse. It's definitely slasher on point, because you got him stalking them around.
follows them. He drives up outside when she goes in to get the booze or the cigarettes.
Yeah.
And you just start getting behind the
He's
girls.
stalking, isn't he? He's hunting.
Hunting his prey. And
Yeah.
obviously, you see that he has pictures on his sun blocker visor.
Yeah,
But
and
that's part of the slasher murderer, isn't it?
Well, that's it.
What is twisted is there's never any sexual avarice with slasher murderers. They're normally quite cold, psychotic.
No, I
he
think-
gets off on it.
I think there's a.
But he gets off on
He
it.
gets
Yeah,
Well,
that's
the
different.
thing with Stuntman Mike, he definitely gets on it. There wasn't in the original script after the first collision. Stuntman Mike was supposed to be in the car masturbating because that is the moment of his climax.
Yeah, you can't do
Obviously, they cut that, and the police officers that turn up after that are in the hospital literally say that his murderous act was that of it was a sexual act. That his car is his penis.
Yeah.
And he used it as a weapon to destroy these girls who were overly sexualized
Yes.
for the first half.
Yeah.
But that's switching it as well, because originally we think that Butterfly is going to be the final girl. She has all of the
Yes.
the qualities.
Yeah.
She's
the
not
one
so
they're focusing on,
sexualised,
yeah.
But then when she does that dance, she becomes a sexual being, which for the final girl can't work. She's always got to have this abject terror-stricken, and she grows as a strong woman. And,
Yeah.
but she doesn't have that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
moment
That's
she's
it.
weak,
And
but
the
then
minute Butterfly does that,
she becomes
that's
one
it.
of the victims.
yeah,
That dance.
that
Ah.
dance.
Is that the greatest lap dance in cinematic history?
From Dusk Till Dawn.
It's on my head.
From Dusk Till Dawn is the
It's
number
up there.
one.
Is
It's
it?
the snake,
Is it not
the wine
comparable?
pouring.
Look, we're missing one of the most vital, important factors of this film before we get too far into it. And that is the fact that this film stars Kurt motherfucking Russell. I've said it time and time again, and I keep getting proven righter and righter over and over that he is fucking awesome. This guy sits and eats nachos at a bar and makes it look cool.
Yeah.
You know,
He does.
he makes it look weird.
Grease dripping.
But he's just fucking going at it, and you can't take your eyes off him when he's sat there in front of the camera and he's just delivering his lines to Butterfly
Are
about
you
the
frightened
poem.
of me?
Yeah, is it the scar? You're like, yes, it's the fucking scar and your fucking car. But then he lightens up the mood by going, oh, it's my mum's car. You know, and you're like, fuck you, man.
God.
Do I frighten you? Is it my scar?
It's your car.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. It's my mom's car.
And then when you see him sat there with the dance, you know,
He's loving it.
Quentin
In real
Tarantino's
life,
music is amazing.
He is loving that dance.
What I loved about it was, you know, I haven't had many lap dances in my life. In fact, I don't think I've had any. But I'm pretty sure the rules speculate you're not allowed to touch, you know, in these establishments. She starts dancing and I'm thinking he's being the proper gentleman, keeping his hands to himself. And she lifts his hands up and starts rubbing all over the body. And I'm like, she's loving it. She's loving, and he's loving
that's
it.
part of the whole setup, is that he convinces her in a way, he seduces her in a way,
Dude.
because he tells her, you were hoping you were going to be harassed by dipshits all night coming up to you for that lap dance.
Yeah, yeah.
And
that's,
you're wounded because nobody did.
yeah, that's fine. But
She doesn't love it. No.
She does.
She's doing it for
She's
herself.
proven him
It's
wrong.
Yeah.
Kurt motherfucking Russell. Wouldn't you want to be rubbed up by him?
Well, not really.
Bullshit! I call bullshit! I smell many levels of bullshit.
All of a sudden in walks a chick in Mexico. Just start playing on a Latin kick in Mexico. Around her waist she wore 3 fishnets.
But you obviously would.
Oh, hell yeah! He makes the scene look really, really good. She makes the scene work really, really well.
I don't think
The
he looks
song.
so good in
Quentin
that t-shirt
Tarantino's-
though, would he? And the-
Yes.
That
the
dance,
music.
can I tell you what it did for me?
What?
It revolutionised my life because I thought flip-flops can work.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I've worn flip-flops nightclubber. I always have flip-flops in my bag now, and it kind of, as a woman,
Yeah.
licensed you not to have to be in a G-string or a little dress, or, you know, you can be sexy as fuck, a bit overweight, let's face it,
Men
she's a
love
real
feet,
woman.
though. Yeah, don't they?
Oh, can we save this conversation for later? Because
Well, this
you're scaring me. That was Kurt motherfucking.
Yeah, but like you said,
going on.
you, as a woman, you may not like the fact of your body, but you stick a pair of flip flops on, you're showing a bit of flesh.
It's not
you know?
It's in the, she was doing it for herself.
Yeah, I believe
She
so.
was dancing that dance to prove to him, and that was her final downfall,
Yeah,
ultimately.
but
because
on
she challenged
set.
him, do I frighten you? Actually, fucking have some of this.
On set,
Excuse me, French.
she's dancing for Kurt motherfucking Russell.
But she is
you know?
on set as a young actress as well, if we take it to the real
And
world.
Quentin Tarantino's like, right, you need to do this dance. And she's like, okay, I've got some moves. And he's like, put my hands to myself.
And
It's,
Quentin Tarantino said, I've got the song.
yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
the
hell
music
yeah,
is-
hell yeah. Like I said, the song Down in Mexico was a really rare song. Tarantino said he was thankful that he ever discovered the song and it's been part of his collection. And
Yeah.
Tarantino knows his music before he knows the film that it's going to go to.
Yeah.
When he's storyboarding or creating ideas, he's just listening to his jukebox. His own jukebox, which is Amy, which is in the film. It's his
Wow,
own personal
that's
jukebox.
that's amazing.
So all the
jukebox.
songs that you see when it rapidly goes through them all
it's so
is his
cute.
own personal collection. And
Yeah.
you can spot he does have the song You Never Can Tell in that, which is obviously from Pulp Fiction. And I'm
Yeah.
sure there's other songs in there from other Tarantino movies as
Yeah.
well. But here's a little bit of trivia for you, especially if you're a fan of Kurt motherfucking Russell, is that there is a t-shirt just up to the right of that jukebox, and that's Jack Burton's t-shirt from Big Trouble in Little China.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. It sets it all up. You know, you are first time you're watching Death Proof, you're following these girls and you're thinking, what's going to happen? The girls have all been drinking all day. You know, they are way past that limit. They're smoking weed, getting ready to drive in the car, which is obviously massively illegal. Rose McGowan's in this film. Now, it kind of
She was the
freaked me
star
out.
of Planet Terror as
That's
well.
it. That I realised that obviously the connection between Dimension Films, the Grindhouse films, obviously Harvey Weinstein and all the stuff with Rose McGowan. I was just like, shit, you know, was that uncomfortable for her to be on set, or did Tarantino put some things in place that she didn't have to cross paths with this guy? But just her little moment in the film where she's this innocent hitchhiker and she's looking for a lift home, and so stuntman Mike gets vouched to give her a lift home. But then obviously when stuff happens and the cops look into it, stuntman Mike has arranged everything so well that he cannot be possibly caught in trouble for what happens to half of the victims. And when he convinces Rose McGowan to get into his car, which has no fucking seatbelt in the passenger side, is encased in shatterproof glass, and is literally just a metal seat, I'm like, get the fuck out of there.
But Tarantino came up with the idea for Death Proof when he was at a mechanics.
Yeah.
And, you know, he jokingly said, can you death proof the car? And they're like, yeah, about $500. And we'll strip this out and do this and this. And Tarantino was like, you actually can death proof a car?
Well, yeah. I mean,
And so that spawned this film, essentially. And so, yeah, you see that car and you're like, oh, I imagine that's how they would prop their cars in these old movies
in these
before
old movies.
CGI.
But when he's doing the tech spec of the car, that's a pleasure in itself.
Yes.
As a
Yes,
member
yeah,
of the
yeah.
audience, and you do, and you're wow, cage, and
Yeah.
That's where the
and
camera
it's-
goes
and
and-
it's like Kit out of Knight Rider.
The
and it's
whole
the
history.
Car,
Yeah.
You know, when he's at the
yeah,
bar and he's
pristine.
talking about all the films that he's worked on, and you're thinking, I don't really believe this. But when they get to the car and he goes through all the details about what they have to do, I fully buy into that.
For me, that's
You know?
also it's part and parcel with the whole Grindhouse thing, whereas Tarantino is going, hey, remember Grindhouse? And here's stuntman Mike going, hey, remember how we used to do it in the old days?
In the old days,
we don't
yeah.
do that anymore. Is he still working? You know, is he still a stuntman?
Yeah, that's it.
Dodge Charger as well.
Fuck me, I love the Dodge Charger.
I know. I love the Dodge Charger.
They mentioned Vanishing Point at least twice in this film, and I'm just going to go on record and say me and Iain reviewed Vanishing Point once, and that for me is one of the greatest films ever made. Greatest car chase. You know, you can't always just sit down and watch Vanishing Point. You know, you've got to be in a frame of mind to watch it, or the film will put you in a frame of mind as you're watching it.
It's just fast fucking cars, man. You just love the fast
There's a
fucking
lot more
cars.
going on with Kowalski
Yes.
than just the car.
Yes, and if you want to get into that deepness, you can. But in Death Proof, it's about that car. And when you see that white paint job, you're just like, oh. And they lift up the engine, and you see the engine inside. I mean, I'm harshness now, but the girls are getting wet. So I'm getting excited.
They're gearheads.
They
you
are
know, they
gearheads.
love their
They
cars.
love
That
that
is their
shit.
thing.
But I mean, we've jumped a bit ahead to the other set of girls because
Can we get to the horrific collision?
yeah, we've got to get to the horrific collision. Yes.
Not yet, not
No,
yet.
we've got to
Now,
do
you
it.
mentioned it earlier. We talked about the jukebox, but not just the music from that jukebox. The music in the entire film is fantastic. You could easily just go, play the Death Proof soundtrack, please.
Easily.
And the song that comes on when they get in the car to go off to their next destination, you see Stuntman Mike take off past them and shoot off down the road before turning around and coming back.
It's the look.
And that's
The look he gives the camera
the
before he
look
gets
he
in the
gives
car.
the camera. Now, if it's the first time watching it, you're like, did he just break the fourth wall?
Yeah.
On repeat viewings of this film, when he looks at the camera, you're like, yes, here we go.
Scar side. Scar side.
And it's that whole bit with Rose McGowan where he's just like, are you going left or right? And she's like, well, I'm going right. And he's like, well, you know, there was a 50-50 chance. And you're like, oh, shit.
Since you're going the other way, I'm afraid you're gonna have to start getting scared immediately.
It's just so bloody because he slams her head off the dashboard when
Once
he hits the
at
brake.
first, yeah.
Yeah, and she's now dead. And
Well, no, she's not dead. She's there pleading with him up
Pleading,
against the glass,
begging.
bleeding down it, begging that she'll never tell anyone.
yeah, but when he breaks her nose off the dash, she's fucking dead that bit. She's on the floor and he's just watching the life go out of her. And like I said, he's already rearranged everything so that he cannot be held accountable for her getting in the car and being involved in an accident because he's now going to bomb down the fucking street, flick off his light and just start revving that engine.
Yeah. And it's all done really well with the pace of the music. You're seeing the girls, they're celebrating, they got their legs out the windows. And yeah, the lights come on at the last minute and you watch the impact 3 or 4 times as it rapidly shows the fate of everyone in the collision. Yeah. And it is horrific. Brutal. It is probably the most horrific and bloodiest car collision I've ever seen.
Yes.
Limbs go flying. Bodies
the camera work.
slump into the ground. The camera work and the special effects of the tire on her face.
Yeah.
The only thing that upsets me on repeat viewings is I cannot fucking stand the Wilhelm scream. Because every time I hear it in a film, I'm just like, this is the billionth time I've heard this scream.
Yeah.
And I didn't need Kurt Russell screaming like the Wilhelm scream.
Well, doesn't really matter. You've just seen a girl's leg come off. You've seen Jordan Ladd go fucking flying through the fucking windscreen. Seeing that crash constantly over and over. While I was watching the review, I was almost tempted to go back and rewatch it again because I was making notes, watching the stuff happen, and then forgot how glorious it was to see in all that featurette. So I was just like, do I want to rewind and watch that girl's leg come off again?
You do.
You kind of do, because it's done so well.
It's
quickly edited. It is awful. It makes you feel sick, and it gets you pumped up. It's fantastic.
It also makes you not want to hang your legs out of a window while driving.
Ever again. Ever. Now, here for me is the hardest part of rewatching Death Proof. Is it that's an hour of the 2-hour film right there. And it pretty much, after the police in the hospital discussing what happened, it cuts to 14 months later. And now the film pretty much goes, here's your next set of girls, and here's Stuntman Mike, and he's going to try and do it again. And it's like, getting halfway through a film and then having a completely different cast turn up. It is really jarring because you've been all this time invested. After that pile up and crash, you could just roll the credits almost.
You could.
But that's where Tarantino comes into his own. This is where he is going to play.
The first hour is what you would have got in Grindhouse.
And it would have ended, and now the fun is just about to begin. And this is where, and you know that it's going to happen again because we have a point of view shot through his shades and he's looking at these guys. Talk about the male gaze.
Oh, he's stalking again, isn't he?
Well,
He's hunting for a next
initially,
victim, yeah.
I think he's just appreciate. Who hasn't? I defy you as men to say that you haven't noticed a pretty girl and it's sun's shining and you just appreciate and you flick away. But he is a psycho-sociopath, and this is the difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird as well because he pulls up to the little shop, and then they pull up, and he's just, you know, it looks like he's getting ready to pick up some cigarettes or whatever, and then he sees them and he's like, oh wow, you know, I don't know if it's the car that gets his attention or if it is the feet sticking
Being
out
in the
the
film
window
industry,
again.
I mean, all of the characters in the second act are all from the film industry.
Yeah.
So I think he would have appreciation for the cars naturally.
Yeah, but it's like it was when you said it's from point of view from his shades. That's I think that's why it goes black and white. You know, to like you said, from a male point of view, he's looking again because in about 5-7 minutes after the sequence, it flicks the color, and all of a sudden you've just got this bright, grindhousey movie.
It happens the
straight in your
moment she
face.
bangs the vending machine outside, and then it just flicks to full color. And what a magnificent shot to come to with the car with the Kill Bill kind of coloured stripes.
Yeah.
Cheerleader outfit.
Rosario Dawson, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. The cheerleader outfit is very difficult to look past with Mary Elizabeth Winstead. But what I really loved was that he licks Rosario Dawson's toes.
Oh.
Which is a bit weird.
Well, we know that Tarantino is, of all the directors in the world, he has the biggest foot fetish.
Yeah.
And I've said it before, it's the weirdest fetish I can think of. It's nothing really sexually attractive about anybody's feet. But that's me, okay?
We all have our
quirks.
Vices, but
Tarantino just likes to put it in his film, and actually, he's given, you know, I think he's putting himself or making Stuntman Mike an extension, you know, to the extent of Tarantino.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
But in terms of the purpose of making Kurt Russell look
sinister,
like very sinister.
Yeah, it works.
And
works
it's
so
an
well.
extended scene, and you know her foot's going to be wet.
Yeah.
And he's calculated it in advance by throwing his car keys.
Yeah, he's already pre-planned it, but
that triggered. You could see that trigger from pulling into a gas station, getting his cigarette, to licking a girl's foot out of a window, to turning into full-on psycho-sociopath again.
But I love the shot where he finds his keys, gets into the car, revs that engine like a beast, pulls off, spins out off the road, and he's gone. And you're like, wow, you know, you can hear that engine just going off in the distance. It's when Rosario Dawson's looking out the road and he's parked there. And you're like, how the fuck did he sneak up? You know, how quietly must he have been just pushing that car so it could park perfectly across the way so he could stalk them and then rev off again. You know, it's really stalker killerish. And that's what gets me going again, where I'm like, okay, I kind of really want to see him crash his car again. But they go to pick up their friend Zoe from the airport. Zoe Bell playing herself.
She's the only actress playing herself, so she's not an actress, or
she's a stunt woman.
She is an actual stunt woman who's worked previously with Tarantino, and she was the stunt double for Uma Thurman in the Kill Bill films. And when working with Tarantino was like, "You're great. I'm gonna write a film for you." And, you know, when she saw her name on the poster and on the script, she didn't realise that she was actually the star of this film. Yeah. And she is fantastic in this film.
This is where it switches. He's not just stalking any ordinary women.
No.
He's after another stunt woman.
Yeah.
It's equal competition.
But it's also, for the first time I watched this film, I wasn't too sure about Zoe Bell's performance because the other three actresses are...
They're recognisable.
Recognised actresses who've done experienced camera work so many times over their life that they're able to portray these characters. And the first time I saw Zoe Bell's character, I was like, she's a stunt woman. You know, I'm not really getting it from her. But the fact that she's got these three friends, and the more times I watch it, that I just feel like their camaraderie, their friendship,
the chemistry was good.
The chemistry, the bond that they all have working together over these years really comes through the screen to me.
And their differences.
Yeah.
Like the Spice Girls.
Yeah, that's it.
You want to be actress, there's one for everyone.
So I started to get behind where I'm like, I don't want these girls to die now because they're such good characters. I'm really behind them. I want them to fuck the killer up. we was talking about the restaurant sequence, you know, when they sit down and the camera is just going around the table and Rosario Dawson's talking about the pit story.
It's an 8-minute continuous shot, no edit.
Reminds me of Reservoir Dogs.
It's something that Tarantino's always done, and it's, you know, one of the reasons how you can prove that he's a talented filmmaker is that he doesn't need to edit.
Yeah.
You can just have a great script, great dialogue, great performers doing it, and at the same time you also see that Stuntman Mike is in the cafe listening to them the whole time.
Where was he?
When the camera pans past him twice.
Wow,
And he's
I
just
did
at
not
the
even know
counter
this.
eating food. And the camera does it twice to let you know he's there. He's listening to this whole conversation,
Yeah.
getting aroused by it, and
I
just
did
going,
not see him.
that's his mark.
See, because at one point,
I didn't see him.
I didn't
Wow, he
see
is there. You don't see, it's the back of him.
I
It's
need
just
to
the
watch
back
it.
of
Yeah,
him.
the weird thing was
He
though,
was there the whole time.
It wasn't until they picked up the car and you saw him standing around away with the binoculars, where I was like, oh wow, I forgot he was in this film.
No, he was there the
I didn't
whole
see him.
time.
I didn't
Yeah,
see him.
yeah.
But you know, the conversation in the restaurant's really good because you know you establish they've all worked together. You establish that Zoe is very clumsy but very agile as well. She'll always land on her feet. You know, you've got
Cat. Zoe the cat.
Zoe the cat, yeah. You've got Kim, played by Tracy Thomas, who, you know, she's strong. She scares me in some points, you know.
Yeah.
She's just like, I'm fucking driving, so you don't get to mess with me at all because I'll fucking give you a slap. You know, Mary Elizabeth Winstead really comes across as the dumb blonde in this movie, though.
Without a doubt, yeah.
You
She's
know?
so gullible.
Hey, thank you very much.
I was waiting for a woman's perspective just in case I was wrong. I was looking.
Your eyes even flickered to my hair.
No, let's not go there.
It did, Gary.
I bet it did.
And then we have Rosario Dawson, who, you know, she's another strong character, but she's kind of
She's
on
the mum
outside
of the group.
Yeah, she's kind of been pushed to the outside by Kim and Zoe because, you know, they're the cool kids.
They're
like
the
they say.
daredevils.
Yeah, you've got a daughter, you can't be doing the stuff that we want to do. So when Zoe says, I found this white Dodge Challenger, I want to take it out, I want to sit on the front, on the hood.
They want to play ship's mast.
Playing with two belts.
Now, the actual car that they take for a test spin didn't actually have the door frames.
Right.
there. So they actually altered the car from its actual factory, you know, settings to adjust it so that they could pull this stunt off. And
I wanted to do it.
if you were to buy that exact model car, you wouldn't actually be able to do that.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, you could stand there with no belts, but that's more dangerous.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it is a crazy idea, but it is also, it's got to be one of the most adrenaline-fueled things you could do. Yeah. Now, especially if you're a car enthusiast, you like fast cars or muscle cars, I can't imagine anything more exhilarating than sitting on the hood of that car going 120 miles an hour.
Party in Black Bed, Sparta!
Down a straight road.
Down a straight road would be fucking orgasmic.
Yeah.
And that is what these girls are achieving at this moment.
I really bought into the Zoe Bell's character at that point, you know, because
I love her hesitation about doing it. She's like, I always feel like I'm not going to do it the moment I'm about to do it.
Yeah.
Just all those things that grind her character into a reality, a believability that she would do this.
Well, the weird thing was, I kept imagining them as 18, 19-year-old teens, you know, because in a weird way, that's kind of the characters that they are. But they're in the story-wise, they're like 30 years old, they've got careers behind them, they've got all these jobs, and Zoe has spent all this time being a stunt woman. So when she climbs out on the front of that hood, I feel scared for her, but not that she's an idiot and she's just doing something stupid. I'm scared for her because she's a professional and anything could go wrong for her. But when I started to get really confident when she's putting on the gloves and she's giving Kim the jacket and they're planning it all out and they're thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, this is going to be exciting.
I was thinking, but Kim's got the gloves. Kim's got the jacket. If she comes off this bonnet, she will be shredded.
Yes.
And there's that element as well.
I don't know about being shredded. I think she would just be a jumbled pile of mess going the speeds that they go at.
Well, we'd seen it in the first crash.
Yes, and that's what Tarantino's done really, really well. Our mind's already racing about what's going to happen, but it doesn't plan out completely like that, does it?
Not
I mean,
completely.
Kurt Russell turns up and he just starts ramming the back of the girl's car, and it's an amazing chase sequence, the camera work,
And he's in
the way the
control.
cars, yeah.
He is so obviously sexualizing this. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. And he even says, suck on this for a while. The language that's coming
Whilst
out of
he's
his
ramming
mouth.
the ass of that
Yeah,
car,
yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It is his sexual gratification.
Yeah, he's just getting so much off on it, and you're watching Zoe just fall back and forth. When she loses one of those belts, my fucking heart goes. When she loses both belts and she's literally
And she's
gripping
Holding the
on the
front
front
of the hood,
Head
yeah.
first.
I'm like-
that's my favourite shot in the whole film, when you can just see her on the hood and the road just a blur underneath her. I was like, that still is fucking exhilarating, but yeah, those brakes go on, it's
Yeah.
over. You
And-
get hit hard enough, it's over.
It starts breaking the fourth wall for me, because I'm imagining what it was like on film set to be like,
because
right,
it was all practical.
yeah, we're
There's
going to
no
do
special
this, and then
effects.
we're going to do it again, and we're going to do it again, try and get it perfect. And it's just like, this poor woman could die at any point. You know, she could just fly off the front of that hood, and he's just
He's
smashing
laughing
her.
whilst he's ramming that car.
And when he spins off the road, and I mean, there's a point where he spins off into the field, and the camera stays on him, and all of a sudden the car is driven through the dust and come right back out again, and he's carried on. And I'm like, wow, whoever it is, I don't know if it was Kurt Russell actually driving it, but whoever was in charge of that car knew what they were doing to keep control, to get back up on the road, to chase after them. But then they crash, and Zoe goes flying off the hood.
Hey! Ladies! That was fun!
Oh, weirdly enough, in the film it doesn't, but I remember in the trailer you saw her fly off. And
You
then
don't see it in the film.
No,
No.
you don't, because you just see this kind of fake body on the front, and I don't think it looked right in camera, so that's why they edited it. But she's come off, Kurt stopped the car, and he's just like, that was fun.
He's finished.
Yeah. And you're like, holy shit. But then as soon as you hear that gunshot, and you see Kim fucking kicking off, and then you see Zoe like bounce up, I'm okay, from the bushes. I'm like, yes, she's alive. And then she just jumps in the side of the car with that pole, and they're like,
She mounts it like, you know, like she's ready for a jousting contest.
She does.
You know, which is like the head-on collision from that we'd seen earlier. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, what's she going to do with that pole, really?
And this is where it switches.
Yeah.
I think this is where, as an audience, your sympathy switches.
You wanna go get him?
Oh, hell yeah!
Let's kill this bastard.
Well,
Is
they've
he
made him
victim
believe. They've shot him.
or
They've heard him
victimizers?
scream, and he is hightailing it out of there.
Crying?
I don't feel sympathy for a mass murdering psychopath.
Neither do I. Well, but we've
I
invested
don't,
in his
but-
character.
Yeah, I do.
But I still felt sorry for him when he got shot, despite everything he's done. And that it was. Is it because it's Kurt Russell or because of the filmmaking?
It's because it's Kurt
Or
Russell.
as
It's 'cause
a
Kurt
man,
Russell.
am I just afraid of having 3 girls chase me down in a muscle car?
Yeah, well, that as well. There's a lot of things, and that's what made this film stand out more for me than Planet Terror, because all of a sudden, like we said, it's now switched.
It's a gender swap.
The
now.
victims are now chasing the killer, and yeah, you guys feel sympathetic for him. I'm wanting the girls to kick his ass. You know, he's caused so much pain. He's been stalking them. He's a fucking weirdo psycho that if he gets away and gets himself fixed up, I know he's just going to do it again. There's going to be a Death Proof 2 and a Death Proof 3. You know, he's just going to keep coming back. So I want the girls to chase him down like I've kind of never seen in any other slasher horror movie. You know, the victims, even if they do get away at the end, are
They're
always
battered and bruised, and their psyche is broken.
they're broken, or they get killed off right at the end so that we can start with another group of teens. These girls are like, fuck no, we're gonna get you. And when he stops, I mean, yeah.
But you're anticipating as well that they are evenly matched. You anticipate that this movie is going to keep going on, and that there's
He's outnumbered.
Tom and Jerry, and it's,
Well, it's still one
you know.
car versus one car, and that is what it's come down to, and that's why this film is one of the greatest car chases in film. You know, as we know that Tarantino lifts and borrows from so many other genres, including Grindhouse,
Yeah.
that you can tell that he's looked at films like Bullet, The French Connection, Vanishing Point. They
Yeah.
drop some of those other films in there, and they all have phenomenally choreographed car chase sequences that do not use any CGI to put cars on the road when there wasn't any there.
Yeah.
And so he captures those chase sequences in this film perfectly. it feels real. It's all done in camera and captured on film. So whoever is driving those cars, whoever is behind that camera, did a phenomenal job capturing it.
Yeah. But they finally capture him, and we just watch Kurt Russell get beaten the shit out of, basically.
I tried counting how many times he gets punched in the face by the girls as they just keep passing him back and forth. I think I counted 37 times he gets punched in the face.
Yeah.
And when he hits the deck, the credit immediately comes up on screen. And I said to Ian, I was like...
No, it gets...
No, the credits do
Credits
pop up
come
on
up
screen.
first.
The credits
Yeah.
come up on screen. And I was
Yeah.
like, no, wait, where's the heel drop?
Yeah.
And then after the first credit comes up, it comes back to the girls on the side of the road, and you see her bring her leg all the way up,
And just
chop
bang.
straight down on his face.
Yeah, the mother.
mother.
It just teaches you. Kurt Russell teaches us again. You don't fuck with women.
Nope.
Basically, you know, I tried to, like I said, I tried to feel sorry for him, but he'd spent most of this movie terrorizing and attacking and murdering women. When he got his comeuppance, I was like, yes, motherfucker, that's why I keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, you know, he does deserve his fate in the film.
Yeah.
But you still, you know, it's the devil's rejects thing, you know, where you do, the filmmaking does allow you to feel sympathy for
Yeah.
the villain.
No, I get that.
And you know, and also a lot of horror movies have kind of conditioned us growing up to root for the bad guy. We root for Freddy. We root for Jason Voorhees. We want them
Yeah.
to kill teens in inventive ways.
But I think it's, you know, especially with a film like this, and it's happened before. I hate on the killer if it's a powerful sexual thing. You know, he is so unable to normally talk to a girl and try and make a better relationship that he has to physically force them and harm them to make himself feel good. And I'm like, now I need you to feel bad.
But that's the gratuitous criticism. That's the criticism, isn't it? Of slasher, of grindhouse, of exploitation films.
Yeah. You just...
That's why, yeah, and it is questionable. I agree with you, but it's also what makes them incredibly popular.
Yes,
And
yeah.
also, the context of it allows you to suspend belief. And filmmakers within these genres,
Yeah.
but also within literature. Look at Lolita. You
No,
sympathising with a paedophile.
I've never read Lolita.
Don't do it.
Yeah,
man.
exactly. Well, but
It's really
it's
bad
It's
shit.
a book about a 14-year-old girl
And it
sexualizing a man.
messes
I'm
with
like,
your head.
"Ew,
It
thank
messes-
you."
Yeah, it does, and that's...
I'll read
again,
comic books. If it hasn't got pictures in it, I don't want to know.
it's not meant to be thought about.
Yeah.
Disposable. It's disposable.
I love
cinema.
I love strong female characters. I just, you know, and I love strong male villains. But like I said, it's the whole sexual thing. It's just like, if you go too far to harm women for your own pleasure, I need you
You're
to
a
be
monster, yeah.
I need you to be harmed back, because it's just wrong.
Well, he got harmed, didn't
Oh,
he?
fucking hell yes.
Yeah. And there is that gratification in watching that heel stomp.
Yes, oh, yeah.
I like the flying kick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That flying kick, you know that it's wrapping up. Yeah. And you wanted to be in the circle, didn't you?
Yes, yeah.
I didn't want to punch Kurt Russell in the face.
Oh, I did.
I want to get lap danced by him.
So, favourite scenes for Death Proof, Ian?
I don't really have many. I mean, the lap dance is awesome. The crash sequence, the first crash sequence, is great. I loved Michael Parks's explanation. You know, he's Errol McGraw from Dusk Till Dawn. He's appeared in Kill Bill as well as Errol McGraw, and he appears in this. And his full-on explanation about why Stuntman Mike did this, you know, the devastation he's brought on these girls, and the fact that he's got his hands tied. You know, all the evidence points to that Stuntman Mike was the innocent in all this, but he knows differently. And he even says to his son, he says, look, you know, I could spend the rest of my career chasing this guy and following him everywhere and trying to capture the evidence to put him away. And I'm like, that's a whole other film in itself. Or I could just tell him not to do it around Texas, or I'll have his ass and send him on his way. And it just sends you away. You know, like I said, 14 months later, you're in another part of America and there's Stuntman Mike. So you're like, that's a nice bridge. The whole end chase sequence with Zoe Bell on the roof is fucking amazing. Camera work is just brilliant. And then, yeah, watching Kurt Russell get his ass handed to him. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. The lap dance sequence. Zoe Bell on the hood of the car with the road underneath her. Stuntman Mike looking at the camera, smiling.
Yeah,
like,
Mike, yeah.
You know what's coming. Great moments. Absolutely memorable.
And for me, I liked a tiny sequence right at the beginning.
Right.
Where the first girls had got out of the car and one of them said that she needed the longest piss in the world. And I loved, one, that Tarantino puts that in movies because it's annoyed me since reading
that is true.
Enid Blyton and how much fresh lemonade their parents, their perfect mum made them, and nobody ever went to the toilet. So it's perhaps that's a funny thing for me. But I loved where she's, because you do.
She
you know,
pinches
and
her legs
so
together and runs up the
it's
stairs.
outrageous again. Another Tarantino special. I loved that. And another tiny thing that I loved was when she answers her mobile phone.
Oh, and there's the music from Kill Bill.
Yeah. And also, I just loved one that in Grindhouse they wouldn't have had mobile phones, so I was messing a little bit with that. And I loved that it was a Nokia. And of course, you've got all of this music where we're sympathising and an attempt to build some three-dimensionality to the character. But I'm thinking, I remember that little envelope when the message sending. So I loved that.
Yeah.
And I loved the girls' language that changed when Kim was driving and we'd gone from this sexual gratification of suck this.
Yeah.
And she was screaming, I'm the horniest motherfucker on this road, and
I'm gonna keep tapping that ass.
You don't like it up the ass, you.
She just, like I said, I was behind her character for being in charge of the whole group, and then when she's in the car and she's driving and she's coming up to that last ramp, and was it they're all just like, Kim, what are you doing? You know, and they just fly off that ramp and he goes flying off. Or when they're driving up that little side road and it's like, please don't end at a dead end. And they all just start...
Please don't end at a dead end.
They all just start going out. I'm like, please.
Yeah.
One other interesting tidbit to bring up about this Tarantino film out of all of his other films is that this one is all in chronological order.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something Tarantino doesn't do very often. So I did find that quite surprising.
Yeah.
There was no flashbacks, or the film was all in sequence.
Yeah, there was no background to any of the characters.
It felt like real time.
Yeah. Weirdly
Yeah.
enough, the first section always feels like it's in the 70s, you know, because of its grindiness. And then when you see the Nokia phone, I'm like, oh, maybe it's early 90s. And then when they bring it up to present day, then I'm in the 2000s. And I kind of just drop it all then. And I'm like, this film doesn't have an actual time frame.
So he messes with time.
It feels like it's
way.
pretending it's a 70s, 80s movie.
Yeah.
When it's a late 2000s.
And it pays in homage, I suppose, to Tarantino's talent that he's seen enough films that he can trigger that thought process for you by just giving you a shot and colouring it in a certain way. Mm-hmm. And it's like, when is that set? You know, and you start making it up yourself. Oh, it's so fucking good.
I easily recommend Death Proof. The film's soundtrack is amazing. One of the most awesome car chases in film. The interesting exploration of of gender swapping, and the empowerment of the characters, mixed with them being gearheads. Again, they are all stunt drivers.
Yeah.
And so taking characters out of the film industry in a film about cars, it just kind of works. I like that. It's well acted. It's fantastically edited. Love the direction, and I love the cinematography. I could watch this film again easily without any reservations, other than the small caveat is that once you do get after that first crash, it does take a little while for the momentum to build you back up, being reintroduced to new characters, and you're anticipating what's to come, with it then being subverted and changed, which is, as we've discussed.
Tarantino.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think this is Tarantino's worst film. I would easily watch this one above quite a few of his other films, actually.
Ladies first, do you recommend Death Proof?
Yes, wholeheartedly.
Wholeheartedly, yeah?
Yes. It is fun. It allows you still to think. I would watch it again unreservedly. I loved the gender switches. I loved the crash scenes. I loved the chases. I loved that he's been clever in experimenting in terms of his direction and the editing.
Yeah.
It's Tarantino again. You can watch it over and over.
Yeah. I recommend Death Proof as well, and like Gary said, it's not his worst movie. In fact, I would watch this over many of his other ones, you know, because I've grown up through a time where male leads were kind of just everywhere, you know, all the 80s action stars, all the 90s action movies, you know. It wasn't until
Kurt Russell was one of them.
Yeah, Kurt Russell was one of them. It wasn't until the early 2000s I started to really be impressed by female leads. You know, women holding this camera and saying, look, I've got this character as well, and you get brought into it. Death Proof comes along and goes, yeah, all that stuff you liked about slasher movies, forget it. And it reinvigorated me by just saying, look, this is what I've got and this is what we're going with. And you don't need the background of half the characters. You know, they're in there, but you don't really need it. You don't need to know the history to Stuntman Mike. You don't need to worry about cops having to chase him and stuff like that. Once you see that first crash sequence, that's what this film is all about. Cars hitting each other at fucking hundreds of miles per hour and the devastation that can be brought with it. The fact that it's got Kurt motherfucking Russell in it makes it even better. The fact it's fucking directed by Quentin Tarantino elevates it. I know there's a lot of people out there who are like, oh, I fucking hate Tarantino. Yeah, you can hate it, but the fact that he comes along with this film and goes, the bad guy's going to lose at the end, and all of these girls are going to whoop his ass. I'm like, hell yeah, I'll watch that. I'll fucking sit down and watch that. You know, okay, I shed a little tear at the end when Kurt Russell gets that foot dropped on his face, but it's from Rosario Dawson, and those are some damn fine legs. You know, Mary Elizabeth Winstead in a cheerleader's outfit. You can't go wrong with that. You know, there's many shots of feet, the lap dance. Just film makes you feel good.
It is wholly satisfying.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
Hang up the tick, carrot, hang it up, daddy, or you'll be alone in a quick. Hang up the tick, habit, hang it up, daddy, or you'll never get another fix. I'm telling you it's not a trick.
Woohoo! Hey! Ladies! That was fun!